Well, 6 months of price declines have done what rate decreases couldn't, and they've brought a few more buyers back to the table. And they've increased sales by 3.3% across the Fraser Valley. Now, it's been another month of cautious optimism, and inflation did move up to 2.4% in September from 1.9% in August. But the Bank of Canada responded with two rate cuts. The first one at 2.5%, and then the second one at 2.25% at the end of October. The big banks have followed, with prime now coming in at about 4.45%. Now, even with lower rates, affordability hasn't shifted all that much. Prices are still high, borrowing costs remain a challenge, and sellers who actually want to move are adjusting to where the market really is today. Hi, I'm Irene, your local realtor here in my community of Mission, BC, where I've been helping people buy and sell for the last 20 years. And in this update, we're going to look at what's happening across the Fraser Valley. And then we're going to take a deeper look into Mission's market, what actually sold and what's selling right now. Let's start with the Fraser Valley snapshot. Across the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, there were 10,583 active listings. And listings in September came up 17% from last year, with 962 sales, putting the sales to active list ratio at 9%, well inside buyer market territory. Sales were 2% lower than a year ago, but 3.3% higher than in August. Now let's shift our focus to Mission. In September, Mission recorded 58 sales. That's all property types combined. That's up from last month by 10.3% and significantly up from last year's 33 sales. Listings continued to climb, reaching 380. Active listings were up by 76% from last year and 11.5% higher than August. That works out to 6.6 months of inventory, with a 15% sales to active list ratio. Breaking it down by price range, we had 11 sales under 500,000, 21 between 500,000 and 900,000, 20 between 900,000 and 1,250,000, 6 between 1,250,000 and 1.75 million, and none over 1.75 million. Let's take a look at the actual numbers of each property type. Now, the benchmark price for a Mission detached home came in at $1,015,400, down a minor amount from last month, but up by 1.2% from last year. We had 33 sales. That is down 13.2% from last month, but up 50% from last year, with listings rising to 295. Up from last month and up 13.9% from last year. And that works out to be 8.9 months of inventory. Now, recently, I've had a few people ask, how much have prices really come down? Well, right now, Mission detached prices have rolled back to September 2021, when the benchmark price was $1,009,300. That's back 4 years. So even though our sales combined have increased, detached homes are still moving on the slow side. And here's the breakdown. Under 900,000, there were 11 sales. Between 900,000 and 1,250,000, we saw 16. Over 1,250,000, another 6 sales, with the highest sale this month coming in at 1,525,000. And just to let you know, that buyer was able to negotiate a reduction of $144,000. Now, townhomes came in with a benchmark price of $656,500. That's down slightly from July and down 3% from last year. And the benchmark price is now the same as it was in February 2022, which came in at $647,500. There were 9 sales, up from last month and up 28.6% from last year. 46 active listings, bringing it up by 17.9% from last year with a slight drop from last month. And it's very typical for the summer months. And that gives us just over 5.1 months of inventory. So what actually sold? The sale prices started at $640,000, while the newer, more deluxe option reached $806,900. And that's pretty much an exact replay of last month. Again, these all had significant price adjustments, and one actually received multiple offers. Moving on to apartments, we saw a benchmark price of $436,800. That's up half a percentage point. However, it is down 5.6% year over year. We've had 7 sales in August, up 1 unit from last month. But here's the good news. It's a significant increase from last year by 75%. Now we've got 39 active listings. That's down from last month, but up by 8.3% from last year. 5.6 months of inventory, and apartments are now the same benchmark price as they were in February of 2022 at $441,500. Sale prices ranged from $275,000 up to $518,000. Again, significant price reductions. They ranged in about $20,000 lower than the list price, with the highest one selling at almost $52,000 less than their list price. Now, buyers, I can't stress this enough. Do not be afraid to make that offer. There really are realistic sellers out there. You just need to be persistent when finding them. It can be hard for a seller to accept the realities of the real estate market, and you really can't blame sellers for wanting to give it a try. We still have a lot of buyers sitting it out, taking a chance that prices might drop even a bit more. But sometimes life can change fast, and that right home, that perfect home can come along, and suddenly waiting doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. And that's exactly what happened with a couple I've been helping from Maple Ridge. We sold their home a few months ago, and they've been renting ever since. Like many others, they've had the theory that the market would dip further. Well, after watching listings come and go, they finally decided it might be time. And that was the day I came across the perfect house for them. Right here in Mission, it checked every box. Great location, solid price, and room for everything and everyone in their family. A week later, we had an accepted offer. And you know what? They told me afterwards that they couldn't believe how much they were able to negotiate off that list price. You never know until you try. Happy clients, to say the least. So here we are with selling prices that have gone back to the beginning of 2022. No wonder so many are choosing to wait. Now, if rates do continue to ease, it will be because the economy is slowing. We're going to see more layoffs, less spending, weaker economic growth overall. And that kind of a slowdown will keep prices in check, even if the sales improve. Now, if inventory starts to increase again in the spring, well, it's inevitable. And that's where the market stands right now. If you found this update helpful, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. It'll help more local buyers and sellers find these updates. Thanks for watching.